Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day here in Georgia. This is a repair attempt for Miss Novlett Lee. You can still see there's fresh chalk from the adjustment the other day from the State Farm adjuster that came up on the roof and identified all the storm damage. You can see this is the wind damage shingle by the creasing up at the top. This is the broken seal. I want to show you guys the tools I'll be using today. The first is going to be this all-in-one State Farm approved roofing tool, the roof snake. With this end to install nails, this end to break seals. I've got a precision nail puller, aka a cat's claw, and this is a general construction tool, a lot of the times used in roofing or nail removing, and I prefer this to remove nails from the top, so we can just simply grab that top lip, pry it out, rather than have to go up under multiple layers of shingles to pull a nail. And then a regular old hammer and roofing nails. So without further ado, what I want to do is identify which shingle this is a part of. For the adjuster watching, you know there's 3 tabs in a 3-tab shingle. Now notice I'm just being as gentle as I can with this tool, not excessively jamming in or anything like that. I'll get a piece of chalk so that we can see easier on camera. But these are the 3 tabs. Our area of repair is going to consist of these 2 courses of shingles, meaning the shingles that we'll have to lift are all in this area to be able to pull nails out. So what I want to do is just simply separate all of the seals on these shingles just as carefully as possible. All right. And notice I'm not being super rough. And then I'm going to separate the shingle that we're pulling out itself. Here. Oh. These shingles are very, very paper thin, and the seals are very strong on the ones that are still sealed. This is a prime example. Okay, so now that we have all the seals broken, let's go ahead and just get an overview of the area that we're going to be working with here, so that you guys can see the condition of these shingles prior to any kind of nail pulling or lifting or anything like that. All right, now the first shingle I'll be pulling a nail out of is going to be this first course right here. Let's get a good before of this. You can see very rough condition. I'm gonna lift up just slightly and tap, 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 so you guys can see the during, and just pry this out. And I notice I'm not lifting up super high on these shingles, not even an entire fist. It's only about 30-40 degrees right there. Now, just like in a standard brittle test, I had to give it a couple taps here, and you guys can see up at the top of this shingle, if you guys follow my fingers, you guys can see where this fiberglass matting is very apparent on the top of this shingle. You can see where that shingle's functionality is actually now compromised. We go on to the next one. Let's get a good before that. I'm going to lift just slightly. Give it a couple taps. Pull this nail out. Give that a couple taps, just like in a brittle test. Seems to be a common theme here. You guys can see up at the top of the shingle, you can see where that brittleness cracking has occurred on that shingle, where that shingle is no longer functioning the way it should. Let's go on to the next. Get a good before this. All right. Lift just slightly. Identify the nail. You guys saw the before. You see the during. And give it a couple taps. And just like in the rest, very common theme here. Up at the top, especially over here in this section, you can see where that fiberglass matting is actually cracked. It's broken. Shingle's functionality is now compromised. On to the next. Get a good before this. We'll lift just ever so slightly. There's one nail here. Yep, and you guys can see at the uppermost portion of the shingle right here, you can see where that fiberglass matting is very apparent. It's cracked. Yep, so you guys can see where that fiberglass matting is cracked. It's broken. Very common theme here on this roof. All right, we're gonna go over to the second course. We can start on, yep, if you want, we can start on this one. All right, we'll lift just slightly. Identify where that nail's at. Notice I'm not cranking back on these shingles. I'm being really careful. All right, and pull that nail out, and you guys can see at the uppermost portion of this shingle, you can see here where that fiberglass matting is cracked. It's broken as well. All right, I'm going to the next one. Let's get a good before. Lift just slightly. Just enough to be able to grab the lip of that nail and extract. Give that a couple taps right there. You can see at the uppermost portion of this shingle, you can see where that fiberglass matting is cracked, is broken as well. We're going to the very last shingle here in the second course. Should be 2 nails here in this one. All right, we're gonna lift just slightly. Just enough to be able to identify nail number 1. And pop that up. And the second one. And pop that up. And we'll use this section right here to extract. 1 and 2. Now just like in a brittle test, we'll give that a couple taps. You can see up here at the top of this shingle where the fiberglass matting is cracked, it's broken. And it's gonna be out with the old. Now before I pull this shingle completely out, I want you guys to see something. Hopefully we can point this out to the adjuster, get them to recognize all the way across the sealant strip. You can see where there's huge chunks. You can even see fiberglass in it, all the way along the sealant strip. And this is actually the shingle above. The bottom of that shingle was ripped to this shingle. So when I pull this shingle out, I've got pieces of the other shingle coming with it. All right, I'm gonna put this off to the side. Gonna clean up my work area right here. All right, and I'll put the new shingle in. Lift just slightly. I mean, really, trying to repair something like this is almost a lost cause. See the condition of the roof. I'm gonna grab some nails here, and in this section I'll just be pulling a nail out everywhere I put one. I'll be putting a nail in everywhere I pulled one out. So lift just slightly. Notice I'm not lifting super high on these shingles, and with every blow, notice the problem. Put this off to the side. Notice the brittleness of the shingles, as with each individual hammer blow, even just installing these nails, the shingles all around are just extremely falling, like brittle and falling apart. And the last nail in the first course. All right, and we're on to the second course now. And nail it home. And remember, there's 2 in this one. Slide that in the gap right there. A couple good whacks done to start it off, and then we'll drive it home. All right, and as we nailed that, the last nail flush up in that second course of shingles, we notice that the surrounding shingles are now compromised, not only from brittleness up at the top, where you can see where that matting has cracked pretty visibly on all of these shingles. So we traded 1 damaged shingle for 7. If I was doing this repair for somebody independent of insurance, I'd have to keep going down to the ground to get a shingle here, a shingle here, a shingle here, a shingle here, so on and so forth, until I'm just replacing the entirety of the roof all the way up to the ridge. Because as a contractor, we can't warranty something like this. Even if I were to hand seal this, this cracked matting right here will eventually let water in, so the functionality is immediately compromised on these shingles. They're no longer functioning the same way that they were. The other thing I want to point out to the adjuster is on both courses, and let's get we showed you on the one that we removed, the shingles on this first course, the bottom of those were ripped to the shingle that we that we pulled out. And just for reference, you can see here, you can see these huge chunks of the other shingle still stuck to it here. Here's another really good example. You can see the fiberglass matting in that. You can see where this is just now the shingle is probably a quarter of the size that it was underneath, but also on this second course as well, as you can see, huge chunks of mat transfer on this as well. So over here in this corner right here, you can see a huge chunk all the way across the ceiling on this strip right here. Also on this one right here, you see a bunch of huge globs of that shingle from below and above, just being stuck to each other. As a contractor, this is not something that we can put our name on. This repair test has failed. We would ask that State Farm wouldn't ask us to do a repair like this, especially a spot repair with as many damaged shingles that are on this roof.